Hey guys, I'm Allie and welcome back to my channel. This is kind of like part 2 of my reading wrap-up kind of deal, and the first part was my favorite and most surprising reads of 2017, and this is going to be my most disappointing and most shit books of 2017 or 2016. Yeah, have I been saying the right year? I don't know. First and foremost, I want to say that I am in no way trying to offend anyone, and just I understand that people have different opinions on books, and I hope that you understand that too. Just because I didn't like a book doesn't mean that it wasn't necessarily good or that it wasn't someone else's favorite. It just wasn't something that I enjoyed. I am in no way trying to hurt your feelings by saying I didn't like the book, but I'm gonna warn you now, I'm probably gonna use some foul language and I'm probably gonna trash the hell out of some of these books, so forewarning you. So let's get into some of these disappointing reads. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about are my most disappointing reads of 2016, and these aren't necessarily like books I didn't enjoy. A good many of these I enjoyed, however they just either weren't what I was expecting, or I just thought they were lacking in some way, or I was just disappointed overall in them. So let's get into those. I'm going to start with Soundless because I really like Rochelle Mead and I like most of her writing. I enjoyed the first half of the Vampire Academy series, and when she announced about Soundless, it sounded really intriguing because it is about like a girl who lives in this like deaf community, and people are starting to go blind as well, and they live up on this mountaintop, and they only get sent food in like a box from this village down below. Well, then the food stops coming, and then she starts to be able to hear for some reason, so she travels down to the town to see like what the hell's going on, and there's like mythical things happening and all kinds of stuff. Mostly this book shouldn't have happened. I didn't think that it was written all that well. I felt like this could have been such an amazing storyline. I feel like it could have gone so many ways, but overall I just felt really let down at the end, and it just wasn't all that impressive. I didn't care for any of the characters, and I felt like there were so many plot holes and just what the hell was happening. Then I have Carry On, and I did a full rant video on this, and it has more dislikes than watches, I think, at this point, because people just click on it to dislike it just because I said I didn't like Carry On in the title. To be fair, I really love Simon and Baz. I love them so much, and everyone I know talks about how much they love Carry On. I assumed I was also going to love it, and like I said, I love Simon and Baz. However, I was really annoyed with the storyline. It felt like a total rip-off and like parody of Harry Potter, and not in a good way. And it just felt like really bad fan fiction, and I don't understand how you can publish fan fiction that like noticeable and get away with it, and just overall I just really did not enjoy it. I thought the magic system was stupid. I thought most of the storyline was stupid. If I could have just had Simon and Baz, that would have been fine. Like, give me a book about what happened after all of that, and I'm down for it. Then I have Morgan Matson in general. I read 2 books by her in the past year. I read Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, which was a no, and I finally realized that road trip books are just not for me. And I also read Second Chance Summer, and everyone talks about how much they love Morgan Matson, and I just find her characters pretty boring. I think that they are just super cliche, and I just didn't care for the storylines. I thought that they were both very boring, and just Morgan Matson is not for me, apparently. Then I am going to talk about Lady Midnight. God, I just like talked about 3 big ones in a row there. Still a good read. I think I still gave it like 4 out of 5 stars because I love shadow hunters and everything in that world. However, I felt like this was probably her weakest book yet, in my opinion, and I just didn't feel like much of the storyline was all that original, and it was definitely very bland compared to everything else, in my opinion, and I just thought that it was the weakest storyline so far, and I am so sick of trying to figure out who all of the freaking siblings are in that book, and I just need a map of all the siblings because I can't keep any of the damn characters straight. Then we have Heartless, and I love Marissa Meyer's work. I love the Lunar Chronicles, and I love Alice in Wonderland retellings. and this is about the Queen of Hearts. It's kind of like a prequel about how she came to be the Queen of Hearts, and while I thought that the characters were pretty interesting, I thought the storyline could have went a lot more places than it did, and I didn't think that it was all that creative for being set in Wonderland. Like, it could have went in so many directions, and I just felt like the world building was a little flat. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't what I was expecting, and I just, you know, whatever. Then I have Milk and Honey, and this is like a poetry collection. I also have a full review / rant on this. I think the messages in this book are extremely important, and I think that it is just such a wonderful thing to spread, just body acceptance and dealing with rape and stuff like that. I think those are very important topics to talk about. However, I just wasn't impressed with the setup, and I know it's like a freestyle, freeform type of poetry, but it just doesn't read to poetry like I consider poetry, and I just thought that it wasn't. Overall, I found it very disappointing. It just felt like words thrown on a page. Guys, go watch the video if you just. And then the last one is All the Bright Places, and I know everyone seems to love this book, and I thought it was going to be life-changing, but I just really hated the characters, kind of. I thought Finch was very bland and tried too hard, and he was kind of creepy. And Violet was very boring to me, and while I understood what it was trying to convey, I didn't think that it did it very well, and I just wasn't, I guess, as impressed with it as I thought I was going to be. I didn't think it was a very unique storyline. It's very forgettable to me and just fell flat. And now I'm gonna tell you the top 3 shit books that I read in 2016. Like, I just really freaking hated these books, guys. The first one I'm going to talk about is Landline, because I guess it's the least shitty of the shittiest books that I read in 16. Landline is about this girl. She's not a girl, she's a woman. She's married and has a family. She is very much a businesswoman, and she takes on this very awesome job opportunity, and her family goes away for Christmas, and they kind of give her a lot of crap about it, about her taking this job. And then she worries the whole time she's trying to do this job, because her and her husband apparently don't have that great of a marriage anyway. So she goes home and tries to call him, and apparently this phone that she's using takes her back in time, and she's talking to her husband when they were like first met. And there are some decently cute scenes from when they were like first getting together kind of deal, but overall her husband is immature and annoying, and he doesn't support her, and overall just ugh. And then she has her best friend who she works with, who easily had like all her best interests in mind and would have been a great fit for her, but of course at the end she's like, nah. I just thought it was about a woman complaining too much when she probably just needed to leave her marriage a long time ago, and yeah, very annoying. The next one is Gone Girl, because this was just a shit show all around, and I read this because everyone loves this book, and there's a movie about it, so I'm like, this shit's gonna be good. Apparently, it wasn't at all. It took me over 3 months to read Gone Girl because it was that boring to me. I read well over half of it and had to put it down because I was just so done. I thought the characters were incredibly unrealistic, which I guess they're supposed to be, and I hated them which I guess I'm supposed to. But the problem is, I'm a very character-driven person. Like, most of the time I don't really care about the storyline as long as there's some good characters. So if the characters are shit and I hate them, I'm not gonna like the story. So, no likable characters, nothing for me to like, basically. I found it quite predictable, which you're not supposed to, and I thought Amy was just overdramatic and that she's an attention whore, and just, I hated her. And I thought Nick was just immature, and I thought that he just needed to get his shit together, and Amy was not a very good, strong character in my opinion either. She just wanted to run away from her problems or create more problems. Everything about that book I hate. I hate it. I thought that it rushed near the end, and there were a lot of plot holes that were just covered up, and the last shit book that I want to just totally crap on is After by Anna Todd, because how the hell do any of you people like this book? Do you not see that this is probably one of the most unhealthiest relationships of all time? Like, Christian Grey and Anastasia, whatever the hell her name is, have a better relationship than the two in this freaking book. Like, first of all, she cheats on her boyfriend to get with this dude. Okay, I guess I can see your little flaws, but then they just try way too hard to make him seem like a bad boy, and she was just not a realistic character to me either. She's very preppy, does no wrong. Like, honey, you going into college, I know you done wrong at some point. The way he treated her was crappy, and all they do is fight with each other, and they're just over jealous and controlling, and then he does a bunch of crap to her at the end, and she just puts up with it, and she's like, just like, well, it's because I love him. Like, I'm sorry, but sometimes that is just not a good enough reason to be treated like crap. I thought the writing was, it was bad. It was bad writing. It was just, overall, it was just amateur, and there's just it's a big book too, guys. I wasted so much of my time reading about these crappy characters because everyone talked about how good of a series it is. It was just bad and so unhealthy, and the worst part is that there are relationships out there like that think it's normal, and it's not. These are not the relationships we need to be portraying to people because they're not good. The fact that you are going to sit there through abuse and then say that it's okay and romantic, I'm not gonna stand around for that. Bye. So, yeah. Those were the most disappointing and most shit books that I read in 2016. What were some of your most disappointing reads? Don't forget to subscribe to see future videos from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.